Everybody Hates Rand is a Wheel of Time podcast that will contain spoilers for all 14 books. So if you're anti-spoiler, stop this, read all 14 books, and come back. We'll be here, waiting.
Our title is a joke and is meant to be taken as such. Everybody in this context refers to us and our cats. You are free to feel however you want about Rand. He's a fictional character. Please don't DM us.
The world is a mess, Dark One stretching out his hand. The dragon's reborn, the fire's been fanned, but everybody hates Rand. Everybody hates Rand. Everybody hates Rand.
Speaking of consequences, I don't know what are consequences here. The consequences of going to a dive bar.
Oh, Lord.
I don't even know if dive bar is the correct corollary, you know?
This is Everybody Hates Rand.
Yeah, your friendly neighborhood Wheel of Time podcast. I'm Emily Jushaw.
I'm Sally Goodger, and this purring in the background is Ed, in case you can hear him. I don't really know if there is, like, a real-world corollary, like, the idea that Tuon wants to go to, like, the worst type of bar. Like, what, you're taking her to, like, a biker bar? Like, I legitimately don't understand. I feel like there's something here about inns and taverns that don't quite correlate to the modern day.
It's, like, meant to be a play on the trope of, like, you know, princess leaving the tower.
Totally.
Tuon wants to gain some real-world experience, and she has decided that the best way to do that is to, like, go directly to the bottom of the cultural barrel.
Yeah.
And go to what is called a hell.
Yeah.
Which is, just according to Matt, a place where likely knife fights are going to break out at any given moment, and everyone's stealing from each other, and just terrible. Everyone's poor. Everyone's impoverished and wants more money, so they're playing each other. Everyone's drunk. And Matt's like, I cannot possibly take a wealthy woman there because she'd be robbed immediately.
Yeah.
And I would be responsible for protecting her. So then I would be getting into constant fights.
Right.
Very, very understandable qualms.
Sure.
And yeah, I can't really think of a real world equivalent. We have, you know, what is called bad neighborhoods in America, but generally that's a racialized term.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily actually equate to any sort of moral or legal quality of a neighborhood. It just means that you're more likely to find people of color there.
Yeah.
At least based on my experience living in New York, where every neighborhood in Brooklyn that isn't invaded by white people is a, quote, bad neighborhood.
Bad neighborhood, yeah. No, I was gonna say the same thing. Like, you said it. It's very racialized. Even Tuon being like, I want to go to a bad place feels... Obviously, there's a lot of class playing into it here. That's probably, like, the more important thing in Wheel of Time terms, but the idea of going to a bar in a bad neighborhood is just, like, take me to, quote-unquote, the wrong side of the tracks.
Yeah.
Which just means, you're gonna find people of color there who are probably just trying to, like, hang.
Yeah, just doing their thing. They're like, okay.
Why are you here? You don't belong here.
Yeah, there are, like, biker bars. People wouldn't be... the bikers might not be thrilled to have you in there, but they're not... Just generally speaking, people are likely to leave each other alone. You know?
Yeah.
Perhaps that's my innocence speaking, but I feel like there's many more, you know, bar fights depicted in media than actually happen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a frequent bar goer.
Yeah,
so
same.
I can't say, but my experiences being dragged to bars in college and after is that mostly people are just doing their own thing.
Yeah, just
unless they're trying to fuck, which is a different sort of scenario than robbing you blind.
Who knows?
But like Emily said, this is very classic princess type behavior. We see the same type of shit with Elaine, who focuses instead on like going to places where actual poor people live, instead just appropriating the language of the working classes. That's how we see it manifest in Elaine, but it's the same type of thing.
Yeah, and, like, occasionally Elaine will, like, I think especially in this latter and or part of the series, she, like, goes out, not sometimes in disguise or whatever.
That's right, yeah.
I think that happens a couple of times, but, like, what Chuan is technically going for here is that she doesn't just want to go to this place, but she wants to go to this place as not herself.
Yeah.
You know, she is not known as the Shanshin Empress or the Daughter of the Nine Moons at this random dive bar. And even if that identity was known, most people wouldn't know what that meant or how to behave, quote-unquote, properly in her presence.
Sure.
So, like, regardless, she's just not going to be treated like royalty.
Right.
Which, you know, that's just sort of the classic princess shtick, is very sheltered woman wants to experience the big old world outside of the castle. And that's generally used as, like, a coming-of-age type thing. Mm-hmm. It's also generally used to indicate that the princess in question is spunky or a feminist icon of some kind.
Yeah.
You know, she has agency. She wants to be with the people. She wants to be where the people are.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is sort of another tally in the column of Robert Jordan trying his damnedest to make Tuon in some way likable or relatable.
Sure.
Without sort of examining her whole deal.
Yeah, because, like, from, like, giving Elaine, like, the barest credit, at least when she's doing this stuff, there does seem to be a sort of, like, genuine curiosity there, or, like a form of, like, joy or pleasure that people other than herself or her class exist in the world. With Tuon, it's very sort of, like, armchair anthropology-esque.
Yeah, like, I think she's supposed to be charmingly kind of awkward.
Yeah.
But it makes her look like she's visiting a zoo.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, the way she walks in and just, like, walks right up to the tavern singer girl who's just singing, like, a dirty song.
Yeah.
And is just, like, 3 feet away from her.
Yeah.
Like, figuring out how much clothing she's wearing.
Yeah.
Basically ogling her.
Yeah.
That's, like, yeah, probably Elaine wouldn't do that.
Yeah, Elaine. Who knows?
Probably
not. Yeah, so the dynamic just grosses me out.
Yeah. But that's not even the first chapter in this section. We read 2 chapters. The first one is called A Village in Shiota. Shiota? I don't know how to say that. And tellingly, I think this is the very first chapter we've ever seen with the Aelfin symbol.
Ooh, sick.
It's got a little upside-down triangle and a wavy line through it, and one end of the wavy line is a little snake head, and the other is a little fox head.
That's very cool. And the triangle itself kind of looks like a fox head with, like,
the
little
dark
ears.
Yeah, very interesting.
It's very cool.
Yeah, who knew snakes and foxes could get, like, you know, could go together so well.
Yeah, do you think the eelfin and the Aelfin can interbreed like horses and zebras?
Do they want to?
That's a much better question, Emily.
I want to know the dynamics of the Aelfin. Is it like a civil war constantly?
Ooh, yeah.
Is it like, I don't know, like sexy politics between them? Who's going to be on top? Or are they just like, maybe they don't even like know about the other ones?
You want to be on top?
You want to be on top? Bullies in the house. Snakes in the house.
Yeah, that'd be pretty funny if there's like, who? The
What?
Aelfin.
We don't
No,
know
we're
them.
the Aelfin.
I don't know her.
I don't know her.
This chapter deals with the circus moving at its very slow pace. And eventually they are passing a field in one of these many, you know, just sort of empty spaces between cities that we get in Wheel of Time. They're passing a field where there appears to be just like a small village. Mm-hmm. You know, people working, doing their thing. A peddler is approaching them. And it's sort of set up initially to be a little bit eerie because Mat kind of gets a little twinge of like deja vu when he sees them and sort of recognizes the villages being odd, sort of anachronistic in some way, you know? Mm-hmm. So he's already got his eye out, and Luca's like, oh, this is a good spot to stop because of course there's people, and Luca loves to entertain. But Mat hears the peddler's horses, like, on paving stone or something, which, like, does not match, I believe, with, like, the visual that they're seeing.
Yeah.
Or Mat extrapolates from that somehow that what they are seeing is not real in some way, but that the peddler and horses are very real. So he's the one to sound the alarm, and I don't think that's too OP of him, because Mat, we've seen, has been having experiences with, like, dead people and seeing images, and he seems more willing to engage with them. You know, if it's going to happen to anyone first, it might as well be to Viren.
Sure.
But anyway, he's like, get out of there!
Yeah.
And the peddler's like, doop-a-doop-a-doo, just doing his thing, and then very creepily the horses start freaking out.
Yeah.
And we watch as the horses and the peddler himself just start, like, sinking into the ground. Not like quicksand, it's almost like a glitch.
Yeah.
You know, just they are disappearing.
Yeah.
Beneath that horizon. And at the same time, the village itself is disappearing, but none of the people are reacting, so it's clear that it's sort of like a simulation, almost. Yeah. And just the peddler has stumbled into it. So they have to watch this incredibly horrifying scene of the peddler and horses just sort of, like, sinking and drowning? We don't know. We don't know what happens to them. Mat, like, almost goes toward them, but Tuon stops him and is like, you physically cannot do anything. Mat almost, like, shoots the peddler, which I don't know, I would have done if I had bow skills.
Yeah, like, it's very tragic, and the horses are making these just, like, horrible noises.
It's just gross to think about.
Yeah, it's very... The whole thing is very, like, good. Like, it's extremely well done from just, like, the way that... Like, I really do love this chapter in particular. We get, like, back to the sort of, like, core of Mat's character, where he is, like, doing these really freaky things with his memory. And also the way that he puts together that it's basically just, like, a hologram that they're looking at is so good. I can't remember exactly what it is either, but it's something about, like, the paving stones should or shouldn't be there, and, like, the fact that Mat would notice such a detail is, like, such a, like, a little trickster moment to be, like, getting, just, like, clicking in a way.
Yeah.
It's just, like, extremely good, and then extremely horrifying in such a well-done way, so good job, Robert Jordan.
We really are getting back to core Mat in this chapter, and to some extent in the next chapter. But,
when he's just gambling.
And getting in knife fights. But, so that after witnessing that, everyone's like,
no thanks.
We don't want to go across that dirt.
Yeah.
That's dead people dirt.
It's dead people dirt.
No.
The dirt's gonna eat you.
The ground is cursed in these here parts.
Yeah.
But going back would, like, significantly delay them, and they'd be backtracking through territory where they've already performed. Is probably the more relevant thing to Valan Luca.
Yeah.
So we have this pretty hilarious scene where Mat and everyone are just watching Valan Luca move around, like, persuading people.
I know, it's so
And Tom and Mat are just, like, betting on whether he can actually get them. Because Tom comes up and is like, I think we'll have to separate from the group. And Matt's like, oh, let's see.
Let's see what happens.
And then they bet on it, and Mat has to pay Tom because Tom bets on Luca's, bard persuasion checks. Very good. Very high stats.
Yeah, Valan Luca is such a underrated comedic figure.
I know.
I think Bard is the perfect way to describe him.
Like, the most annoying bard you've ever met.
The most annoying, insufferable bard, but is just, like, so damn charismatic.
Yeah, everyone's like, oh, damn, Valan Luca, he's so handsome.
Yeah, he's so handsome. Performance.
He's like, we're gonna go to Camelin, and then I'm gonna hire ships to Tar Valon, and Matt's like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
You would never drop that much money to hire ships. What are you talking about?
It's so good. He's just, like, got these performance and charisma stats
just
off the
outright
charts.
lying to everyone. But yeah, he eventually convinces the whole circus to keep moving forward. Then, of course, he has to be the first one across, so he, like, sprints, basically. Which is all quite funny.
I like to imagine him doing all of this in one of his extremely flamboyant
Oh yeah, he's
outfits.
definitely wearing like sequins or
Yeah.
something like that.
Fucking rhinestones.
But that night, Matt does not have his usual, like, dinner with Tuan and company because she and Seleucia are like, that was very creepy and ominous, so we have to spend the night in prayer. And Matt's like, okay, yeah, we should probably all say a little prayer. That was fucked up. But he retires to his tent where he is joined by, Tom, Noel, Oliver, and Julian and Amathera, and they're having a very quaint little game night, playing stones and snakes and foxes, and
yeah.
Tom's just reading and rereading this creepy letter. Then Aegianan and Bael'Doman show up. Aegianan makes an effort to make amends with Amathera, just to be like, no, you don't have to treat me like Shanshan anymore. I just want, we're equals. You need to buck up. Why don't we go on a double date? Have dinner back at our wagon. And Julian's like, okay. Amathera notably does not get to weigh in on this.
Yeah.
The whole conversation's with Julian. But they peace out, and then leaving the three main guys plus Oliver. And Matt finally breaches the topic of what is in the letter with Tom. He's just like, why the fuck do you keep reading this letter? And Tom's like, here. And Matt's like, I don't want to read your fucking mail.
Yeah.
Like, what
That's a felony, Tom.
That's a felony, Tom. Oh my god. I, Mat Cauthon,
Yeah, I am many things, but I'm not a mail reader.
noted law keeper. And he, like, starts it, and it's like, my dearest Tom. And he's like, Tom, what is this, sexting? I don't want to.
I don't like you read your sex letters.
And Tom's like, no, read it. So the letter, of course, is from Moiraine. She has, like, a smoochy sort of first paragraph where she's like, there are many words I would like to write to you. Words from my heart. And it's like, shut up.
Yeah.
But she's like, in a minute, I'm gonna go confront Lanfear. How can I know that? I just know, I know the future. Blah, 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 blah. She's like, when you get this, you'll think I'm dead. Everyone will think I'm dead, but there's a chance that you and Matt and another guy can rescue me, but it will only work if it's you and Matt and another guy. That's the only chance for success. And even if the three of you come, then it still might fail. So, risky endeavor. I do not know the future completely, conveniently enough. She also says, like, whatever you do, don't show Matt this letter until he asks about it, which really shines a light on the fact that Tom has just been performing reading this letter in front of Matt, trying to get him to finally show some curiosity about Tom's personal life. You have to imagine Tom's just, like, sighing in the background constantly. And Matt's just going, Jesus Christ.
What is up with this
so
guy?
annoying.
God.
And Moiraine says, finally, does she say she's in the Tower of Genji? No. She just says, a final point, remember what you know about the game of snakes and foxes, which is such an ominous
Yeah, just fucking...
little line. And Matt's like, okay, well, Tom, Moiraine's super dead. Lan even said so. And Tom's like, well, she said we'd all think we were dead. And Matt's like, the little, like, doorway thing she went through melted.
Yeah.
That seems like a pretty good indication that she's dead. And Tom's like, meh. And Matt's like, she just went to where the Aelfin are, and we have no idea where that is. And Oliver's like, the Tower of Genji. Brigitte told me. And Matt's like, God damn it,
Brigitte.
You and your infinite wisdom.
Yeah.
So they're just having this very funny conversation about it. But Noel's like, oh yeah, I've heard of the Tower of Genji, like, that would be a fun adventure to go there. And Matt's like, well, we don't know where that is. And Tom's like, well, according to the letter, you should know where it is. And Matt's like, I don't know where it is. And Noel's like, well, it's this beautiful silver tower that's just, like, super tall and doesn't have any doors. And Matt's like, God damn it, I do know where that is. Matt has, like, this sort of flashback to seeing that tower when he was on the riverboat with Bael'Doman traveling from Shadar Logoth to Whitebridge. Notably, Tom was on the same voyage, so it's funny that Matt saw it and Tom didn't.
Yeah, which, like, could just be, like, a writing thing, you know? But I do also like the implication that, like, maybe only Mat can see it, you know?
That is fun.
Yeah, I don't think that's actually what happens, but it's just fun to be like, only Mat.
Yeah, it's also weird because we've also had Perrin see the Tower of Genji, I believe. Just, like, in one of his dream sequences where he was sort of running around with wolves chasing Slayer. I think this was in book 4. He ran into the Tower of Genji, so it's just sort of, like, confusing. I wish it had just been Mat. But Mat talks about how creepy that is because he has so little memory of what transpired, especially after Shadar Logoth. And he said before that he has holes in his memory, and we don't often linger upon what that means, but I was just reading this in another book, but, like, Mat has entire years of his childhood and growing up missing.
Yeah.
And he has, like, you know, this extremely spotty memory of everything after Shadar Logoth. Which is just, like, I don't know, an underrated form of trauma.
Yeah.
For Mat, especially the idea that everything that he's missing plus some has been replaced.
Yeah.
By dead people's memories. And Mat is now like, is that, like, surveillance on me? It's all very just, like, creepy.
Yeah, I also just, maybe we've said this before, but I am just, like, obsessed with the visual imagery of, like, there needs to be memories gone before they can shove more memory in his head, as though, like, memory is not an infinite pool, you know? It's just, like, really fascinating.
I know, and it's just, like, his memories have been missing, I think, since he woke up.
That's true.
But, like, also, did that make him the ideal vessel?
Yeah.
For this, like, Aelfin and Aelfin thing?
Yeah.
It's very, like, weird.
Yeah, or is it just totally unrelated? And he just also happens to have...
Like, clearly this doesn't happen to everyone who goes into the Tower of Genji, because...
Yeah.
You know, Rand went in.
Yeah.
But, I don't know, Rand and Moiraine talked to the ones who answer questions. Mat was the one who the only one that we know of who talked to the people who grant boons or whatever, so it's just it's one of Robert Jordan Lake's, like, good plots. He really went off with the Aelfin and Aelfin.
I know, I was thinking about it, and, like, I think he does a relatively good job of, like, merging the Aelfin and the Aelfin with, like, everything else that is going on, but I also just feel like that could have been it. Like, Mat could have just been his own thing entirely, and I would have been so fascinated.
Yeah, just the Aelfin and the Aelfin, no Dark One, no whatever. Yeah, just, it's very, like, interesting.
What is... so good. You're right, Robert Jordan really popped off.
So Matt's like, yeah, actually, I do know where that is, but, like, honestly, we cannot go. And for the first time in his life, apparently, tells the entire story of what happened to him in, I think, both Towers of Genji, indicating, like, it's so dangerous, I forgot to ask to be able to leave alive, so they hanged me, like, he's showing his scars, da-da-da-da-da. Hilariously, he's also telling this story in front of Oliver without questioning whether it's appropriate for a 10-year-old. Like, they're wearing human skin, and Oliver's just like...
Are they wearing human skin? Is that what's going on with them?
The Aelfin and Aelfin, they are always wearing, like, these creepy, like, leather...
outfits made of human skin.
Sorry.
Not I was like, hold on.
No, like a Ed Gein situation.
Yeah, I was like, wait a second. Missed that?
Dude, just creeped me out so bad.
I'm
Their little
sorry.
snaky fox faces, whatever, but just wearing a meat suit.
I'm so sorry. But no, they were wearing, like, human leather, which is gross.
Also gross, yeah. And so he's just like, yeah, that's all what's happening, like, don't tell anyone, but, yeah, and Noel's just like, whack, dude. Do you think I could go? And Matt's like, are you guys stupid? And Tom's like, it doesn't matter, we've gotta go, like, I'm going, regardless. And Mat tells us he doesn't really care about Moiraine, but he does care about Tom.
Yeah, it's very sweet in its fucked up little way.
I know, it's a very interesting thing. Mat and Tom have one of the most interesting relationships in this book as sort of like a mentor-mentee without any of the usual, I don't know, toxicity between mentors and mentees, like between Moiraine and Rand.
Yeah.
You know, all three boys have their own sort of mentor figures that are all met in the eye of the world. Perrin has Elias. Matt has Tom and Rand has Moiraine / Lamb.
Yeah.
And, like, Elias isn't all that helpful to Perrin. He's
Sure.
just like, yeah, Saldean women like to get abused, so do more of that.
Yeah, helpful.
And
Thank
Moiraine
you.
famously fucked up her and Rand. But Tom and Matt are just, like, have a healthy sort of relationship between bros.
Yeah, and I think that... Hello. Goodbye. I think that's part of what makes it so healthy is it is, like, not a formalized mentor-mentee relationship. Like, it's very fluid. Tom obviously offers Matt a ton of mentorship and advice, and basically is like, this is my boy. Mm-hmm. I'm just hanging out with my boy. Mm-hmm. But Matt also offers Tom advice in certain situations that Tom seems to actually, like, put a lot of value in. So it's just, you're right, it's much less toxic and much more, like, real, I think.
Yeah, Matt's just like, this is my weird old man
Yeah.
friend who follows me around, and I sort of follow him around, and we just ran into each other in Tarvalon when I was making my big escape attempt, and we've sort of been stuck together ever since. Except, tellingly, the gap between the Shadow Rising and Lord of Chaos, I think it was, before they met back up again in Salidar. So I just like to think about Tom's perspective there.
Yeah.
Tom didn't really get the whole slow slide into Matt's military genius
Yeah.
that everyone else got.
Yeah.
So to Tom, Matt just sort of came back strange.
Yeah. I love that idea. He just came back strange.
Yeah, he's like, okay, clearly something happened to
Yeah.
you. But he doesn't really, like,
Tom's
question
like,
about it.
haven't we all
Yeah.
gone somewhere and come back a little strange? For me, it was when I killed 2 kids.
And Matt's like, oh, I went to fantasy hell.
Yeah, and Tom's like, oh, sick. Imagine being Noel, who's just, like, addicted to adventure, and Matt's like, Tom sets up this mythical quest, and Noel's like, okay, I'm interested. And Matt's like, I went to fantasy hell. I was hanged. I came back alive. Rand saved me. I've got people's memories in my head.
I had to do, the Dragon Reborn had to give me mouth to
Yeah.
mouth, the most traumatic part of any of this.
And Noel is just like, with each more insane thing Matt says, Noel is just like more and more excited.
Noel's like, sick. I
Noel's
love
like, oh,
this.
that sounds fucking rad. I want to go to fantasy hell. And Matt's like, no, you do not.
Noel's so funny for being this genre-savvy little lunatic.
I know, I love him.
Noel has the vibe of, like, a D&D player who's like, you see the setup that the
Yeah.
DM is giving you. There's
Totally.
gonna be something fun there if you
Yeah.
only push the red button.
Yeah.
And it's like, your character's like, I'm not stupid, but Noel's like, no, I am stupid. Let's do it.
I want to do it.
He's the Travis Willingham of this.
Roll to seduce Aelfin.
All the Eilfin plot was missing. A seduction.
Seduction. And here's Noel.
But anyway, Matt agrees, finally, and the last set of dice of the congruent ones that he's been dealing with stops.
God, I know I said this before. Robert Jordan also popped off with this dice mechanic.
I know. God.
This is why I feel like Matt could hold the story on his own.
Yeah, Matt just has so many interesting
Yeah.
mechanics. He really loses it in terms of, like, romance at the end, but, like, most of his other interpersonal relationships are very interesting.
Totally.
He has really fascinating relationships with other people, and with the world, just generally. So, I don't know. Tuon's really just the wrench in there.
Really the iceberg on this Titanic.
Oof, woof. And Tom is just playing his harp as the ship goes down. Anyway, the next day, the circus gets up pretty early, and they continue on for, like, a few days. They keep a good pace before eventually everyone calms down and they slow down again.
Yeah.
Outside this city called Madirin. Not sure how to pronounce it.
Madarin.
Who knows?
Because it's a Madarin. To me, it's Madarin to me.
I'm not going to respond to that.
That was a good one. You're so rude.
And then Tom and Julian go into the city to check it out like they do, and while Matt is waiting for them and just entertaining himself by throwing dice, you know?
Yeah.
Just seeing how it's going. Seleucia comes to get him and is like, Tuon wants to see you. He goes to her, which is when he finds out that she wants to go into the city and go to a hell. They are still arguing about this when Tom comes to find Mat and is like, oh, yeah, we could do that. And Matt's like, we can, Tom? And Tom's like, yeah, I've seen just the place. And there's, like, this silent conversation between Tom and Mat where Tom's like, she's not even gonna know the difference.
Yeah, I could take her to the Four Seasons.
Yeah, she's just gonna be like, whoa, look at all these commoners, these peasants. And Matt's like, all right, you're probably right. I will trust your judgment. So that decided, they do pack up, the four of them, Mat, Tom, Seleucia, and Tuon, and head over to the city, which is not occupied by the Shanshan, but has had Shanshan pass through occasionally, and Tom, through questioning, finds out that the city is not. The city's pretty ambivalent about the Shanshan, you know, they're kind of like, yeah, take them or leave them, whatever, and Tom's like, I've seen that attitude pretty much everywhere else, which is a real problem because it's going to make the Shanshan really difficult to extricate from this invasion, which is just a common theme that Robert Jordan has been returning to, that the common people are too stupid to realize that the Shanshan might not be a good form of government.
Yeah.
Or that the existing form of government was just so bad that the alternative fascism is better somehow.
Yeah.
Which I am not a scholar of fascism. I do think there's a certain amount of truth in that fascist states via propaganda and efficiency can bring the common people over to their side as long as they are themselves not the people being othered. That's what happened in Germany during World War II.
Yeah.
So there's an element of truth there, but it is a little bit troubling because Robert Jordan seems to fall on the side of this is a good thing for the common people, rather than being like, this will inevitably turn bad for everyone.
Yeah, it goes back to what we talked about last week. Wow, we've been doing a lot of callbacks. It's almost like our episodes are finally connected.
It's almost like we're reading multiple chapters from the same point of view.
Oh, man. It goes back to what we talked about, the idea of kind of like representation versus endorsement. And like it's obviously you can represent whatever you want in fiction, and like it is an interesting thing to explore the idea of exactly what you said, of like governments that are not democratic governments or oligarchy type stuff, any type of government that feels ineffective because it moves very slowly or depends on the whims of one person, like a monarchy or an oligarchy, anything that doesn't necessarily have to go through the strenuous process of passing laws, can feel really refreshing. That doesn't mean it is a good thing, and like there's nobody interrogating that in all of occupied Shanshan except for like Tom.
Yeah.
So it just like the framework of it tends to seem more like endorsement than representation and interrogation.
Yes. Agreed. Wholeheartedly.
And I'm just repeating what you said, but it's gross.
They finally get to this random common room, this inn that is called the White Ring. The White Ring? Yeah, the White Ring, which is, you know, a garter, a woman's garter. Like a little frilly thing that they throw at weddings or whatever.
Which is so weird.
I mean, they don't do that at Mormon weddings, but...
Well, have you guys just, like, ever thought about that one for a second? It's so weird.
So they go in, there's a gal who's singing a sexy little ditty about all her paramours. And Matt's just like, what the fuck is this place, Tom? Like, why are there so many people? It's like afternoon. Why are there so many people here? And Tom's like, oh, it's just like a custom, apparently, that people go and drink a little bit before they make their trades in this part of the city. But Tom's, again, like, she will have no idea. And Matt's like, do you want to bet on it? And Juan comes back and is like, well, what a hell. And Matt's like, Oh, God damn it. Passes a coin over to Tom, and Tom's just like, wee! Won 2 coins off of Matt in 2 days. How exciting. And Tuan's like, what was that? And Matt's like, nothing.
Don't worry about it.
I just think Matt and Tom are the funniest.
They're very cute.
But they have this awkward little lunch with Tuan just being weird and awkward. Eventually, Tuan sort of pushes Matt into gambling, playing some dice games. She's like, Tom called you the luckiest man in the world, and I want to know what that's about. And Matt's like, okay, yeah. Starts playing dice. One of the guys, like, immediately leaves the table as soon as Matt sits down and departs the inn. Matt doesn't know what that's about. He's playing and playing and playing, winning and winning and winning. This is a constant pattern with Matt. Eventually, he realizes, like, some of the people who are acting very drunk are not really drunk, and this is a dangerous situation, so we should get out. So he throws and immediately loses all his winnings. So he's just like, time to go. And Tuan's like, I thought you were supposed to be lucky. And Matt's like, that was lucky.
Yeah.
But they get hustled out of there, and on their way back, while Matt is playing this game, Tom is, of course, gathering information. Before they leave the inn, Tuan and Seleucia go to the bathroom, and Tom comes back and is like, bad news. So apparently the Shanshin are being told that there's that they need to catch a Daughter of the Nine Moons imposter, and all of the barracks that are set up between here and Lugard are going to be looking out for her. And Matt's like, ew, that's a real problem, because that was my plan, to send her back, was just, turn her over to the Shanshin as soon as we are far enough away from Abu Dar. But if they aren't going to try and kill her, then obviously that's a problem. And we can't really stay with the circus, because at some point the circus is going to run into one of those. And Tuan's little letter of protection is no longer quite the letter of protection it was. So they're kind of making plans like, let's start buying horses and get ready to depart from the circus. Tuan comes back and Matt just tells her about this, and she's like, yeah, it's probably one of my sisters that's trying to kill me. And Matt's like, okay, freak.
Yeah.
You weirdo. My sisters tried to kill me too, but it was like we were 10 and, normal stuff. Normal Cain and Abel behavior.
Yeah, obviously.
Not like serious shit. But as they're leaving, they run into a group of armed people. Matt just has no option but to engage with this. Very unrealistically, he takes out 5 guys.
Yeah, a lot of
with
them.
His little knives. They are armed with swords. And given he does have ranged weapons and just, kills 2 guys instantly, but then it's still you against 3 guys. And I do appreciate the verisimilitude of him just being like, I'm not going to get out of this unscathed, so the best thing is to just get wounded in as unseriously as possible. So he's pretty beat up by the time he gets through all of those guys. He's just a real John Wick over here. And is facing the last person, who turns out to be a woman. He tries to get her to run off. She is not about that. So Tuan has to kill her because Matt hesitates. Just the, usual wheelie time, gender politics stuff. And then Matt turns around and Tom has also had to fight off 6 people, albeit with Seleucia's help. And Seleucia's a very highly trained hand-to-hand combatant, so probably that went a little easier for them, but Matt does not know that Seleucia is Tuan's bodyguard, even though it's incredibly obvious. So, smart boy, also dumb when the plot calls for it, I guess. But Tom's like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna not remember that. Your secret's safe with me. And Matt's like, is Tom going insane? It's like, sometimes I wonder about Tom. But Matt recognizes one of these guys. It was the guy who, left as soon as he sat down to dice. So although he does not know what this means, he gets the heebie-jeebies and is like, we need to leave the circus now.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether we are prepared to do so, and just take off on our own. So that is where we end, with Matt being like, we're going back and then we're leaving. R.I.P. Valan Luca.
Ugh.
We will never see you again, which is so
really?
tragic.
That's awful.
I know. I really wish he was in the last battle.
I know, I was like, it feels like everyone else rolls up. Why isn't he just happen to be where the last battle takes place?
I know, there are so many, like, cute ways that you could integrate the circus, too.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I would love to see what Valan Luca's showmanship could contribute to the war effort. / maybe they're just, like, you know, tying bandages for people.
Yeah. Yeah, he could... He's giving stirring speeches on the battlefield.
But also, it's sort of iconic to be like, everyone showed up to the last battle but Valan Luca, who was like, is there money involved? No.
No, I'm not kidding.
Then I'll be over here, wherever here is.
Is the Dark One gonna give me money?
Then it's a no from me.
It's a no for me. And then maybe the Dark One is like, but I would love to give you money, Valan Luca. Entertain me.
Valan Luca's like,
But the Dark One never gets the chance. Nobody asks him if he's bored.
We're really crafting a Persephone and Hades sort of narrative here for the Dark One and Valan Luca. The untold romance.
The untold. We're getting some good romances.
I know. Maybe the Dark One is just like, needs
Maybe.
a bard. Although
Just-
he did have Asmodean, so.
Yeah, so I mean, the job is empty.
Valan Luca's the next Forsaken.
Yeah.
It's Mazrim Temp and Valan Luca. Can't channel. He's just.
The Dark One's just like, I just think he's neat.
I just think he's neat.
It would be... I just love to see Mazrim Tem losing. So if he sits down to be like, I'm one of the next Forsaken,
And then
I've
Valan
worked
Luca-
so hard for this.
Random circus ringmaster who flirted his way into.
Yeah. Sits down and is like, hello, it's me.
I slipped my way directly to the top.
And I'm not
And by the
ashamed
top,
of it.
I mean the bottom of hell. But the king of hell.
But the king of hell is my boyfie, so...
Anyway. So at least we had one fantastic Valan Luca
Yeah, I
send
know.
off with him talking everyone into not backtracking.
Yeah. Oh, Valan Luca, you will be missed. I love you, you little freak.
Yeah, goodbye, the circus.
I know, that's so sad. It really was a linchpin of this series for many, many books.
Yeah.
And to just send them off into Shantan-occupied Lugard or whatever.
Never to be heard from again. Yeah, who knows?
I like to think he's doing well for himself.
Well, thus ends our Mat section of a couple in this book. When we next show back up with Mat, then when we next go back to Mat, it'll be with the much reduced company of only the relevant
Yeah.
figures in this subplot. Meanwhile, chronologically, we're about to hop over to a single Perrin chapter and then over to Elaine for a little while, so not a lot to look forward to there, but
Rip.
#prayers.
Rip.
Let's see. When you listen to this, it will be December 19th. There will not be an episode next week due to the holidays, so that we can have some family and friend time. But we will be back in early 2023.
That's right, we will. Whether you want us
Whether
to or
you
not.
like it or not.
We'll be there.
Threat. We'll be back.
Threat. We're pointing finger guns at the laptop.
But thanks to Glenn Mackenzie for our theme song.
Yeah.
Thanks to our patrons on Patreon and our followers on social media.
Yeah.
Sorry the heater just kicked on.
Well, it is too cold to turn the
very
heater
snowy.
off. Yeah, it is a snowing here in ye old Utah.
Anything to add?
No, and I'm trying to think of a sign off.
Okie dokie. Well, here's a little holiday send-off from yours truly when I was being forced to watch Die Hard for the 4th time and to entertain myself was reading all the trivia on IMDb.
The 4th time?
Yeah, Devin makes us watch it every year. It's a holiday tradition.
No, it isn't.
Well, how many years does it take to become a tradition? I don't know. Anyway, did you know that there's a scene in Die Hard where Bruce Willis has to shoot a gun up towards a table that is made of glass, and so he shoots through it to kill a guy, and that stunt permanently damaged Bruce Willis's hearing.
Oh.
So now he has a hearing aid. So,
Jeez.
the more you know.
The more you know.
But anyway, that's it. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Goodbye.
Take care.